Hi there. This is Chapter 2, Part 3 lecture. This section is about energy. Let's first begin by defining energy. Energy has a weird definition. The definition of energy is basically the ability to do work. Well, what is work? Well, work, if you ever take physics or took physics, is an equation. Work is force times distance, which means how much energy goes into moving an object or displacing it a certain distance, basically. So energy is the ability to do work. Work is force times distance for the most part. These are different forms of energy. We're going to talk about them a little bit more also in a second. Two major classifications of energy. You have potential, you have kinetic energy. Types of potential energy. And once again, potential energy generally means energy of position or composition, meaning how it's made. Gravity means, for example, this person at the top of this hill, they have gravity, which will enable them to come back down the hill. So they have the potential of going back down the hill. Gravitational energy, chemical would be in the food that you eat. Nuclear is in the nucleus of an atom. For example, nuclear reactions are nuclear energy. Kinetic energy, energy of motion. What types of energy are energy of motion? Well, this would be radiant, which means sunlight, for example, thermal, which is heat, sound, electrical, mechanical would be basically when a machine is moving. So let me give you an example of how all this works. Energy can be converted from one form to another. Okay. Let me give you an example. This person here is potential. They're at the top of the hill. They start rolling down the hill. Now it's kinetic energy. All right. That's pretty much energy is converted from one form to another. Here's another example. Water behind a dam. All right. Water behind a dam would be, if it's behind the dam, it's potential. As it goes through the dam, it's now moving and it's kinetic. It's not just kinetic. It's kinetic. That kinetic gets turned into the machinery that gets moved in the turbine inside of the dam. It gets converted into mechanical energy, and that mechanical energy spins a turbine, which eventually turns it into electrical energy. So that's how a dam works. So energy goes from basically from potential to kinetic, specifically to mechanical, and then to electrical. So energy is converted from one thing to the other. Those machines make noise, so part of it is lost as sound. Part of the energy is lost as sound. Those machines get hot inside of there. Part of it is lost as heat. So it gets converted into all these different types. What I just mentioned to you is how energy is converted in one form or the other. That's called the first law of thermodynamics, energy changing forms. The second law is called entropy for the most part, which means things want to move towards an increasing state of disorder. So entropy means disorder. So your book gave an example of a bunch of wood sitting here. The wood has has a lot of potential energy. All right, so this is considered very orderly. So this is not disorderly. This is very ordered because it took a lot of energy to make the tree that produced this wood. Right? So generally to have order, energy goes into it. Well, when you set it on fire and everything gets released through these reactions, light, heat, water, and carbon dioxide are made during the burning or combustion reaction, and you're left with a pile of carbon, ash. Much less. This has a lot of disorder. So there's less order here or an increase in what's called entropy. All right. The example here is if you tossed a brick off of a truck, which kind of pile of bricks would you likely what type of bricks would you more likely produce? Well, they're not going to land like this. To land orderly like this, it requires energy. You just toss them off the back of the truck. They're going to end up being a pile like this. So things in nature want to naturally go towards something that requires less energy and more disorderly. Energy conversion efficiency. This means that some things, then let's look at this definition. The ratio of useful energy output to the amount needing input. So what you get versus what you put into it. So the example I have here is how far can you drive with 10 kilowatt hours of energy? So this is a measurement of electricity. So if you use 10 kilowatt hours of energy, this is your input. What are you going to get out of it? So I'm showing you the efficiencies of these cars. Electric cars would get 41 kilometers out of that. A hybrid car would get 20. A combustion or an engine that burns gas would get 17. Hybrids burn gas and utilize batteries, so they're a hybrid between an electric and a combustion. And then a hydrogen car would only get 13. So showing you the efficiency. A high value for this, a high conversion number would mean very efficient. A low value would be not efficient. Below a value of a 1 would mean what you get is what you put into it. You get exactly What is put into it is exactly what you get out of it. A value below the number 1 would be very inefficient. It means you put more into it than you get out of it. Light energy, this is important. The sun is an important thing for life on our planet. It releases what's called a bunch of type of radiation in what's called the electromagnetic spectrum. Down here in the spectrum, these have very low energy. Over here in the spectrum, a lot of energy. Very ionizing, very dangerous type of radiation. This will rip electrons away from things and could do major damage leading to cancer. Visible light falls right in the middle. Our microwaves at home and our cell phones run on microwaves, are right in this range. Lower energy, you might have heard from people saying that cell phones cause cancer. Well, cell phones are very low energy. They're a non-ionizing, lower energy type of radiation. Visible light that you're sitting in your house right now, you're looking at things. Visible light has more ionizing energy than actual the waves I believe your cell phone is working on. Autotrophs. These are the photosynthesizers. They're also called the primary producers or just the producers. These are the green plants, algae, green bacteria called cyanobacteria. They use the sun to produce their own food. Photosynthesis is basically how a plant, for example, will take in water, it'll take in carbon dioxide, and as it takes in these two things, it will produce sugars or other organic things, basically. So the process by which a plant uses the sun's energy to produce food or sugar called chemical energy. Where does it happen in a plant? In the chloroplast. What's the green stuff in the chloroplast that absorbs the light? Chlorophyll. So in order to do this, it needs energy. And where does that energy come from? The light that is absorbed by the chlorophyll inside of the chloroplast. There's two parts of photosynthesis. One part is called the light reactions. One part is called the Calvin cycle. The light reactions need light. And this is the light reactions up here. What do the light reactions do? They need water, they need light, and what they do is it breaks apart the water. It forms some ATP, which is energy. NADPH is a high energy molecule that's carrying electrons also. And one of the products of all that is they produce oxygen during this process. So for the light reactions, you need light, you need water. Light, water go into it. What comes out of it? ATP and NADPH come out of it. These ATP and NADPH, they're used in the second part called the Calvin cycle. The Calvin cycle takes carbon dioxide from the air, along with these products, ATP and NADPH from the light reactions, and it takes them and produces sugars. So during which part is sugar made? During the Calvin cycle. Which part requires carbon dioxide? Calvin cycle. Which part requires water? Light reactions. Which part makes oxygen? Light reactions. Here's the equation. This is a balanced equation. Now beware, on your test, you may not see a balanced equation. And also, you better know what these words mean. Carbon dioxide plus water will make glucose plus oxygen. These can be in any order on the right. These two on the left can be in any order. All right? Let's talk about cellular respiration. This is how you and me produce our ATP energy. So this is the process by making energy. But why is this important in our class? Well, we humans, we do this process. We eat food, we take in oxygen, and we make a gas called carbon dioxide. So this is a very important process. Living things on our planet do this process. All living things on our planet do this process. So organisms that feed on other organisms, they're called heterotrophs. But heterotrophs are not the only ones that do cellular respiration. Autotrophs and heterotrophs, all organisms on our planet require ATP and energy to stay alive. You will not be alive without energy. So all living things do respiration. Only autotrophs do photosynthesis. All living things, including that tree. This tree also does respiration. So all living things do respiration. Okay? So trees also do respiration, not just people and animals in this picture. Where does cellular respiration happen in your cells? It happens in these organelles called mitochondria. All right, and here's the equation. We eat sugar, we inhale oxygen, we exhale CO2, and we produce water as a waste product. Another form of energy for a planet, geothermal energy. Well, what is geothermal energy? Well, deep inside the Earth, you got radioisotopes that are breaking down, and this radioactive decay is releasing a lot of heat. This heat can basically be used to heat up water. So hot water comes up, and they can turn the hot water into steam. That steam can spin a turbine, creating electricity. Then that water can be sent back down where it can get heated up again and reused, basically. Molten rock below the surface of the Earth, magma, right there. So this is geothermal plants. This is generally how they work. They take hot water from that's been pumped inside of the Earth and heated by those molten rocks way down there, and heated by rocks that are breaking down. And that heat is now captured and allowed to make and used to make electricity. Hydrothermal vents. This is at the bottom of the ocean where you got this thing called hydrogen sulfide pouring out of these vents. Hydrogen sulfide is a chemical that can be used for what's called chemosynthesis. So what happens down there? Certain bacteria, chemosynthetic bacteria, for example, what they can do is they can take hydrogen sulfide, water, and carbon dioxide. And they can take these three things and they can turn them into sugar, food. Their waste product is sulfuric acid. It's kind of a nasty waste product. So carbon dioxide plus water plus hydrogen sulfide will yield or make sugar and sulfuric acid as a waste product. Oops. It's the end of this one.